Welcome back to the European Masters, everybody. I am here with Celtic, and we're about to dive into our final game of the night. No tiebreakers happening in this group. This game decides who leaves the group with Mao's Energypot Wizards from the Balkan League and UK Fnatic Rising taking on each other in this final game of the group. I'm very excited to see this. I've been thoroughly impressed with Energypot Wizards. I've been less than impressed by Fnatic, but that's because I'm harsher on them because they're a UK team. But I've been very impressed with Energypot Wizards. Again, the Balkans consistently able to surprise everybody, even though we shouldn't be surprised by the Balkans, Celtic, because they do it every time. I'm still surprised, and I'm still pleasantly surprised.
Well, I mean, clearly based on earlier, you're a fan of Lukezy, but certainly he's been a member that's stood up and massively put on showcases. And I think the rest of Wizards now maybe need to do that, coming into a matchup that, yes, you won once before, now have to prove that that wasn't purely a fluke.
Yeah, let's go into this draft then. The Gragas band finally here. I guess to deny that from Spooky. Dan's Rek'Sai being taken off the table a lot. I think this is a pick that allows Dan to be a bit more aggressive than his picks like Zach, and it's something that he performed very well on in the finals. In fact, he played it 3 games in a row versus XL in the UKLC finals and got 3 wins in a row. But Sett left open for klowny. Going to lock that in immediately. And we'll see what the...
I was going to say, this is so good, though, because the likely lockup on the other side is going to be your Ornn or Maokai. And then Dan, as you said, leans towards these tankier champions. That means Sett has so many options to go for these big ults and team fights and be a massive disruptor to this team.
Trundle has been banned, so tank junglers are, I think, a little bit less susceptible. MagiFelix going to straight up take the Corki here, so they are comfortable just giving him that as a blind into Lukezy. I think it deals with a lot of the champions that we've seen from Lukezy as well. You know, I think it goes even at least with the majority of Lukezy's champion pool. So I think that's a solid pickup for MagiFelix this early on.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if we ever see him bring out, technically his most played domestically is the Pantheon. I'd love to see it just from the pure priority standpoint, but I'm not sure we will at this stage. Wouldn't be surprised to see something like Ziggs a bit more standard, and as I said, they go for it.
Yeah, Ziggs just comes out, and that'll be something that I think MagiFelix has played a lot of. Lukezy, it fits his style of champion. I think it actually has a little bit less proactivity. I think he can be a little bit less directive with Ziggs compared to something like his Cassiopeia or his Cho'Gath. So it might be a different style of play from Lukezy this time round, a bit more backline focused and giving over some of that impetus to some sort of like his other members of the team to set him up.
Interesting we see the Yuumi lock here before ban phase 2. Clearly they know Energypot Wizards are going to ban away some of your standard champions you take with that, like the Ezreal. So I wonder what their plan is, if they're planning on taking something maybe a little less conventional with the Yuumi.
Yeah, I'm interested. Something that we saw happen quite a lot in the UKLC finals was the Bravado Yuumi with Dan's Rek'Sai, and then they just comboed together and were just smurfing across the map. So Bravado has got a lot of experience in this particular champion. I think after Taric, it was one of his highest played champions across the UKLC when it wasn't banned, and Taric being the Bravado special, of course. So let's see where we end up here. That's going to be a Maokai ban. Maybe they're not convinced that that's a Sett top lane. Maybe that could still be a Sett support for whiteinn.
Oh yeah, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be as well. Does mean that you're taking away some of those tankier options for klowny, who is generally that way. Technically though, klowny's most played is Sett, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it head top lane, but I think just kind of covering their bases here, avoiding whiteinn going for that, especially with whiteinn's Thresh banned away as well, maybe just wary that he might be more willing to swap than previously.
I think it could have been Maokai support. We actually have seen a bit of Maokai support from time to time. So it could still obviously have been a Maokai support that they were thinking about. The Sivir and the Ezreal get banned away from xMatty here. So we'll see what xMatty chooses to go for in this bot lane. I imagine that they are going to pick their jungler here, I assume. I mean, they've got options. I mean, I don't think it matters AD carry or jungler at this point in time. But it is going to be the Aphelios for Matty if he does indeed lock this in, which I assume would be a pretty solid pick. It gives them a lot of late game power. A little bit worried about their early game, though, if this is indeed the Aphelios.
The biggest issue I see with this is how easy it is to engage on them, and whiteinn likes to play those heavy engaged champions, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something like the Nautilus followed up here and just go hard onto that Aphelios Yuumi, who don't really have a whole lot of mobility to dodge out of things. Yes, they have a lot of survivability, but if you just jump on them with multiple members, you're going to struggle, especially teamed up with Varus here. There's a lot of ways to jump on you.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see the Nautilus. It's going to be the Zac locked in for Spooky here. I imagine the Nautilus is the pick. I mean, it is unbanned. It combos well with the Varus. You're going up against an immobile AD carry like the Aphelios. It just seems like the sensible pick for whiteinn. Then again, that is coming from my completely uneducated brain, so it might not be the case. We'll see what Wizards decide to round this comp out with, though.
You see, there it is. Yes.
I am moderately educated, Celtic. Moderately educated. There you go.
It helps that I told you, but you know what? I'm giving that point to you entirely. Fair play.
Thank you. I thank you. I'll take it. Even I just copied your homework. Didn't even change it. Just copied it straight up. And it's going to be. Let's see. We'll have to have a look. I think Olaf Yuumi is disgusting.
Yes.
And it is the Olaf Yuumi. Olaf Yuumi is a very disgusting combination. Okay, these are the two compositions. Celtic. This is where I put my voice down and I let you talk about these comps and what they do.
Okay, well, looking on the other side, you mentioned it already. It's Dan Yuumi it's Dan on the Olaf with Yuumi.
It's Dan Yuumi. Let's
Dan
go.
Yuumi. Yeah, so you got the Olaf Yuumi, which will kind of... The strength by it, for those who haven't seen it come through before, is you get that move speed on the Olaf, you get those extra stats, and obviously being unstoppable means that you can just run people down. The extra healing on top of the inbuilt healing of Olaf becomes a massive issue for people to deal with, especially tanks where you don't have a lot of ways to burst him out and he can ignore all of your CC. On the other side, you have a lot of engage opportunities, and I'm waiting to see whether Spooky or Klowny swap.
No. It's not. They can't swap. It's 20 seconds. It's the last time you can swap. It's actually Sett jungle.
Okay, that is interesting. I think either way, Olaf has priority, but I think it's even more punishable if you take the Zac in the jungle. So this is fine, at least for their purposes. I think it actually changes very little about what the comp wants to do. You're still looking at a comp that wants to engage on their terms, wants to try pick people off and go for these wide team fights, which of course leans heavily into what Wizards always want to do, what a lot of the teams from the Balkans always want to do.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the game that decides which team leaves with Mouse from this group. It's going to be very exciting. Energypot Wizards from Balkans, if they win, they will qualify. They will beat out the first seed from the UKLC. They will do their region incredibly proud, following in some of the performances that we've seen previously in European Masters. And UKLC, they need to qualify this because they've already got XL through, and it would feel pretty bad for Fnatic to win the UKLC and then fail to make it out of groups when XL had such an excellent day just 2 days ago. So again, this means everything to both of these teams. A final best of one to decide who qualifies and advances further in this incredibly prestigious tournament as well. I can't really call it based on composition alone. I'm biased. I'm going to just obviously say it straight up. I'm biased and I'm leaning towards Fnatic, but that's because I cast the UKLC and I am kind of British, so I'm allowed to be a bit biased.
Yeah, whereas I'm Irish, so I'm completely allowed to root against the British here.
Exactly. I can take that. We can balance the cast.
And more importantly, I am a massive fan of the Balkans. Just really aggressive style. As a spectator, it's very fun to watch. As an analyst, sometimes I'm left with a few question marks. But as someone who just enjoys watching how scrappy some of these fights get, it's just so fun.
And immediately this bot lane, they go straight in onto Matty, who's taken incredibly though. There's the ignite as well. He'll have to pop the heal and the barrier. Bravado trying to trade back where he can, but that's the problem when you're going into a Nautilus lane. He's only got one target to hook, and that's a very immobile AD carry that you're dealing with.
Technically, you can make it 2 targets, but if you do that, Yuumi gets killed in maybe 2 autos. So also that's an issue with that play, because one of the nice things about Nautilus is Yuumi can't jump back into someone if she's been CC'd recently. All Nautilus needs to do is turn around and auto that Yuumi whenever they jump out, and suddenly Yuumi's in a lot of trouble.
Going to go for a very defensive ward here, just to make sure that they aren't getting dived early on. Remember, Yuumi does not have the heal just yet. So,
the one thing to note as well about Sett, of course, is that you have that massive shield available to you early on with the Haymaker, allowing for those dives to be possible, especially if you're not planning on staying too long.
Level 1 right now. That's the arrows constantly being charged up to try and put pressure onto Matty. Dan, he's going to get spied out here. Maybe Lukezy looking for a stray little steal of this blue.
Gonna try for it anyway.
I think he's going to try for it indeed. Lukezy coming down. Dan's going to have to smite this away. And now they're going for a potential dive on the bot lane. Dan, you know this is happening, right? You know that they're there.
Yeah.
He's just leaving them. He's just saying, okay, goodbye.
At the same time, it would have at best been a 4v3, even with your tower. Might have been a bit more dangerous than you like, and also the fact that they were caught out in the wards. You could have maybe sent xMatty and Bravado off running, just in case that was something they committed to, but as you saw, they pulled back as that was coming.
So difficult for Matty. He really has to rely on the healing from Bravado, but Bravado already low. Already very low on mana, and actually Matty's going to back off straight away, so he's already having a tough time in this bot lane matchup. It is something that we assumed with the Nautilus lock-in would happen, and he can't really even afford to back, actually. Yeah. Going to have to rely on Bravado getting a bit of a mana back and getting the heals off.
Yeah, going to go for the autos, gets a little bit of mana back, as you touched on. Going to bring in the shield to xMatty as well, but okay, does manage to get some lifesteal coming through on top of the heal with the Yuumi, so one of the very annoying things about Yuumi and most kind of enchanter, especially heal-based supports, is that you can stay in lane a lot longer than you think you should be able to, but klowny now gets low, but not unusual for Zac. You have to remember, it can pick up those blobs, and all of your spells are percentage current HP based, so your spells cost less, the blobs heal just the same amount, and it allows you to stay in those fights quite long. That's why you see the Conqueror as well helps you as you get lower to consistently keep those heals going.
Spooky is heading up towards this bot lane. The ward is there and available. He will actually clear it out right now. Matty is moderately healthy. He's about half HP. He has got the barrier coming up very shortly, as well as the exhaust being available for Yuumi too. But he's just going to go and do the... He's essentially going to threaten a dive. Lukezy now walking down as well. They are maybe looking for a 4 versus 2 dive. Matty and Bravado not very keen to stick around. They're going to give up plates. Massive amounts of plates. And because they don't have the vision, they can't afford to stay there either. That's a tough situation for these guys to be in the bot lane.
And this is what we were saying earlier, where I said, okay, realistically, there's a reason Dan's not going there. It's not a fight you want to take at all, so you're just going to have to back off. They do so. Now Spooky's going to try to convert that into an objective lead, but yeah, you're going to need the TP in from Varus if you want to go for this. It is quite aggressive, considering you're missing your support.
Yeah, MagiFelix working his way down. Spooky taking I mean, that's the Sett. That's the problem with Sett. It's not like a Lee Sin who has the natural sustain built into his kit. Taken super low by the dragon with no support, so maybe a missed opportunity. Unsure, really, how to phrase that.
I don't think it's as bad as it looks. At the same time, trying to do that as Sett, considering you haven't backed yet and you're only sitting on Hunter's Machete, always going to be a difficult one. Always going to be exceptionally slow as well. So does just back off now as Dan potentially can actually solo this.
Yeah,
if he believes
is Olaf
he's safe.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, and they have the control wards in that bot river, aside from in the bot lane itself, at which point Olaf will probably just start running if they try to come up and contest.
He has to rotate MagiFelix out of lane because the bot lane priority, at least for the most part of the game, has been massively in favor of Wizards. Yes. So it's not like he can get away with it for free and then expect his bot lane to support him if they rotate out. But actually now you can start to see Matty has kind of bitten back in terms of that lane priority. They've got a couple of levels under their belt. They weathered the early storm and they're faring a little bit better in this matchup now.
In fairness, a lot of this comes from the fact that you've just picked up the right weapon as the Aphelios. You swap to that. The blue one is what I'll call it, just for pure clarity for everyone. The flamethrower, and just start clearing out those waves.
It's called Infernum, but it's called Infernum. Just
the flamethrower. I mean, I'm close enough, right?
It's alright, mate. I never remember what any of them are called. I'm just like gravitas,
gravitum, crescendum,
severum. I think they're all of some sort. Yeah. I mean, I go the flamey one, the one that roots people. Yeah, that's good enough.
This is our job, by the way, guys.
This is our job, by the way, yeah. Sapcasters. Anyway, Lukezy pushing in the mid lane. He's got a little bit uncontested as MagiFelix went back, but no plates taken as of yet, and no wave lost either for MagiFelix as he makes his way back in.
Okay, and we haven't talked about this mid lane much. There's good reason. Ziggs Corki, very similar to Azir Corki. You're just clearing out the waves. Depending on when you push, you may be able to respond to some of the plays in the river, and that's kind of the most action you'll see for quite some time in the game, and that's why we've been ignoring that to a certain extent. Similar to top lane, it's not wholly dissimilar to Ornn Maokai, the Ornn Zac. It is just a tank v tank matchup. Ornn can put some pressure down on Zac, but Zac can heal when he's low, so he'll look under pressure a lot of the time, but then very quickly heal it back. Realistically, all of the action has been through the jungle and in that bot lane.
I'm going to go early rotate up for this Rift Herald spawning at 8 minutes. They start it on the clock, and I just don't think Fnatic are going to get there in time. I think they might end up losing this. They do have MagiFelix with the package, so he is going to be pretty quick. He'd have to commit his body and soul to this fight. And you can actually now see Pride working his way down. He'll have to pop the Ornn and just go for this straight away.
It's already gone.
I don't think the cool is there. I think he's just going to back off. Although you can see he has to immediately take the fight. Here comes MagiFelix, zoned out by Lukezy. Pride gets blown back into the team. First blood going over to Energypot Wizards as MagiFelix dives away. And again, something that we've had constantly with Pride is some of these questionable decisions.
Yeah, and I think even from Fnatic as a whole, they're kind of trying to collapse on a Herald that was already gone. I think just, like, I know you've the package, but the timing wasn't there. You couldn't make it to the fight. Having to give up Herald isn't the worst thing in the world. I know you're Olaf, you want to have this early presence, but fact is, if you wanted that early presence, maybe be at the objectives when you're needed. That way you could have maybe warded people away, you could have at least avoided the massive numbers advantage you ended up running into.
Well, this is a good start for Energypot Wizards, who have a small gold advantage to work with. They're going to drop the Herald straight in the mid lane and threaten MagiFelix right underneath his own tower. Pride is working his way down, does have that Ornn available. They are taking a lot of damage, though. Well. Yeah, Ziggs is there. He will be able to get the execute on the tower if it gets low enough, but unfortunately it did not.
Yeah, but it's only so long that it will survive. Still plenty of time before 14 minutes for that to be taken down. You can see with this set of plays, you're now 1k in the lead for Wizards. Not a huge amount, but enough for this stage of the game to be happy with. Cloud Dragon having gone over to Fnatic, though, to try even that.
So, just taking stock of the game right now. It's not exactly like a huge lead has been built up here, but that was a good number of plates taken in the mid lane. And you know that if you give Ziggs any space, like a couple of basic attacks, he'll get that easily with his Hextech Satchel Charge. And that will be a tower down in the mid lane. And the mid lane tower is so important as well because it opens up the map so nicely for vision invades, to get vision down in that blue and red side jungle. Rotates are much easier to work with. This is a game that if Energypot Wizards win, they qualify for the quarterfinals. They get through to the knockout stage. They beat Fnatic Rising, the first seed from the UKLC. And the same for Fnatic. If they win this, if they don't win this, it would be a disappointment for them and the organization as a whole. So it's a pretty huge deal. And I think the pressure is definitely on Fnatic to win this because they're expected to, but Energypot Wizards are having a great game so far.
Yeah, and I think if you look at it as well, on top of the fact you've gotten BTXL through, but Fnatic have been the team that's best represented the UK in the past when it came to these European stage. They managed to get into those semi-finals and previous European Masters, but haven't quite had particularly stellar performances outside of that, wanting to see more from the UK in general. And right now, they're under a heavy amount of pressure to even make it out of this group.
Yeah, and they're going to lose that first mid lane turret as well. They're now going to rotate down towards the bottom side. They have control of the dragon area. They will get spotted out as Matty and Bravado are going to back off, but that's a nice little chunk of gold and control gifted over to Energypot Wizards here. And this has happened to Fnatic and XL before. They are very well aware of what Ziggs can do in terms of pressure in the early game. So they're going to have to find a way to sort of find a fight that works for them and try and exploit some of Ziggs' weaknesses, which is, some of these early fights he may not be so powerful. And he is very good at pushing waves and very good at taking turrets and generating a large gold lead purely from standing objectives alone. But Fnatic do not look like they're in place to contest this dragon. They're going to give Wizards their first of the game.
Yeah, you can see actually Dan has completely given up and has decided, okay, we'll at least try balance it out, playing towards the top side. Wondering if they're willing to go for the dive here. Would be a bit dangerous up against a Zac, especially considering I believe his passive is still up, so not something you want to heavily commit to, but all of Wizards are on the bot side now, so he's just going to clear out the jungle top side.
They're going to get another turret here as well, very easily with the rotation from Lukezy. That Hextech charge should be enough. Oh no, they're not even going to take it. Maybe concerned about... Oh no, they won't. They will come back. Look at...
He's confusing you, man. He's just trying to throw you.
I thought he was backing, but he takes it. Another turret off the map here. MagiFelix does pick up a couple of plates, but Fnatic are losing structures very quickly.
And looking at the gold swing, continuing to go in favor of Wizards slowly. Not insurmountably for sure, but about 2k now for Wizards, a little less. They're pretty happy with that. You can see Dan having done whatever he can with that time, which realistically was just taking 2 camps from Spooky. I think Spooky will be happy enough with that. Not the biggest worry in the world. But trying to get this Olaf to a point where once the Yuumi jumps in it, it becomes a massive problem in a fight, I think is Fnatic's aim right now.
Well, it is only a small gold lead to work with, 2,000 right now. Not insignificant at 13 minutes into the game. Energypot Wizards have really surprised me this group. I don't really feel like I can talk about it enough. I've been thoroughly impressed with their level of play, how smartly they've played around the neutral objectives. I think they've had some really good individual performances on their team as well. And this would be, I think, reward for everything that they've achieved in this European Masters so far. Right now, they're going up against the Infinity Edge of Aphelios. xMatty has finished that item up. A lot of damage comes down onto VZZ already. And maybe setting up for an engage here. Obviously, we have that Olaf Yuumi combo, but again, the numbers advantage lying with Wizards. They're just going for another potential turret take here, and MagiFelix not able to rotate up and respond, although there is good wave clear coming out from Matty right now. He has kind of weathered that for just a little bit, and MagiFelix is looking for another play where he can in the mid lane.
You see VZZ attempted the Varus ult there under the tower onto the Aphelios, didn't quite land it, so they're able to walk away from that and just continue the defense, allowing them to slow down this game, which is really their big aim right now. VZZ going to continue to try poke out, but you're kind of running that into the healing of a Yuumi, so it's going to be difficult to make that stick.
You can see actually Spooky on the top side of the map here. Dan is hanging around. Matty takes a huge amount of damage from a single arrow, but he does get healed up a significant amount by the Yuumi. That is the problem with Yuumi. Spooky now coming down. Dan has rotated away. Another arrow being threatened here onto Matty as now Spooky jumps in. That's going to be a flash immediately. There is the lost chapter as Matty gets taken super low and blown up straight away as Bravado now the next target. Actually unkilled though. He is still alive. And now klowny jumps into the fray. That would be a kill for Lukezy, but Pride and Dan are chasing things down. And this is the Olaf in the mid game as klowny gets taken down. That was a bait there by Fnatic. They set the trap of Matty, and MagiFelix gets a huge amount of gold in his back pocket for it.
I'm not sure I'd call it a bait so much as just a play that happened that way, considering the Yuumi was low on mana. This is a good engage, but the immediate double TP is what saves it for them. Because you should have taken out the Yuumi here, can't quite finish it off, but look at how ignored Dan is as he runs into the center of this. So much of your energy has gone into taking out that backline of Fnatic that Dan is just able to run into the side and run right through whatever is left, bringing to a massive advantage for Fnatic, where they really shouldn't have been able to find it, but some solid TPs, some solid movements evens up that gold.
They get another turret, and again, like you said, they actually have the gold lead now. So a small play, they pick up the next Herald. That is the skirmish that they needed. This is the point in the game where I think they are slightly stronger than Wizards. You know, I think this is the problem with Ziggs. He's not exactly going to be blowing people up in one shot at this stage in the game. He's obviously much better in the early game at taking those structures and pushing waves, and he's going to start to scale up as the game goes on. He has now finished Ludens, which is a pretty important item for him, and he's got another needlessly large rod on top of that. But MagiFelix is so close to finishing up his Triforce. You know, he's got that Mana Mune already starting to stack. He's got that Triforce on the way. You know, MagiFelix is about to come online in a big way, and this is the important part of the game where Fnatic have to utilize that.
I really want to take it seriously as like this terrifying carry, but the dog is very distracting. I respect it though, as you have the package, of course, coming in, the dog biscuits ready to go. And as you said, stacking up really heavily on that Mana Moon means that the Mirror Mana is on the way. On top of the Triforce, has the package here as well for full zoning as the Herald is looking to take out this mid tower.
He should get a chance. I don't think this kills the tower though. It will do a lot of damage. One auto attack away, they get immediately on to MagiFelix, who's forced to burn the package in a defensive manner, and Matty just wails away. That damage coming through is strong, and I don't think with the Ziggs there that they're going to be able to get this turret, but maybe that's not their ultimate goal. They have that Baron spawning in just a moment. His klowny almost caught out there as MagiFelix is like, I'm going to Valkyrie on top of you, mate.
I think there's also a little bit of miscommunication there from MagiFelix and Bravado, because MagiFelix went right away with the package as Bravado went, okay, perfect time for a Yuumi ult, let's lock everyone down. So I think just a little unfortunate there from their point of view. That tower just about being held onto though for Wizards as the gold once again goes back to dead even. But I do agree that around this stage of the game, Fnatic do have something of an edge with that Olaf Yuumi. The one thing to be noted though is you have a lot of tanks on the other side, which are extremely good in the mid game because it simply takes too long to kill them. You don't have the items to get through all their defensive stats quite yet.
Oh, MagiFelix taken super low by klowny here. Dan is going to walk back in, but That was an attempted push in the bot lane for the tier 1, and in the meantime, a huge rotation up from Wizards means that they may end up getting this tier 2 as well. That's another turret for them, and they're going to try and force down the second tier. I don't know if that ult's going to do much other than just clear out a bit of the wave. But the Ornn is doing what it can. It will clear out the wave from the top side of the map. That was well played from Pride to buy a bit of time to allow the rest of the Fnatic roster to rotate.
I think the idea here, though, is to at least delay that push in the mid lane as well. You don't want it to be matched entirely. You want it to be... Okay, actually the W doesn't end up killing there. Just a strange little movement on that one. Means you don't quite get the tower. It was supposed to be tower for no tower in the mid lane, but see now if they can collapse onto Wizards here. It looks like what they wanted to do.
Yeah, they did, but I think the lack of vision on the top side of the map meant that they had no idea where Wizards were, and I don't think Matty and Bravado felt comfortable face-checking in any of those situations. So they're gonna take the River Scuttler. They'll take that away. You have to remember
the pressure that's on this game as well, considering that this is the team that will continue on in the European Masters, so not willing to take really aggressive risks like that.
There's no point making a play like that if you're not 100% sure of the outcome, especially given that a single mess-up could end up locking you out of the game. Giving an inch often gives a mile in these kind of scenarios, and again, Fnatic know that this is really important. Energypot Wizards know that this is really important, and so you don't face check. We don't go into areas where we have no vision unless we absolutely have to. We take every 100% play. We don't take the 20% plays, and that's basically the mantra I think that both of these teams have when this is a best of one, and so much on the line of this best of one as well.
At the same time, I think if I was expecting a team to suddenly turn and engage, it will always be Wizards. It'll always be one of those teams from the Balkans that can find those sudden flashpoints where they see, okay, here's a point where we can just pick off this one person and suddenly explode into this team fight. Especially with the likes of Zac, as we get towards those later stages of the game, as we start leaving the laning phase more consistently. Because right now, everyone seems still somewhat locked to that stage, somewhat kind of committing to the tank v tank in the bot side. No TP. Or TP's just coming up for them, but now Dan has actually come down.
Yeah, Dan's coming down. It's going to be the ult from klowny straight away. He flashes out of the knock-up here. They're going to push straight up for that top lane tier 2, and MagiFelix is going to get forced away. I'm not really sure of the thinking for Dan there. Like, you're trying to gank a Zac, who's got a decent amount of tank items already completed. It didn't feel particularly rewarding to go for that play.
But Dan is still bot lane. And Baron is up. They could turn if they want to. They actually decided to push the mid lane just in case instead. But yeah, I mean, Dan is showing. They have everyone there. They're going to use it to push mid lane instead because they know they can push faster. But strange calls from Fnatic means that even whatever Wizards call here, they should be the ones who get the advantage.
Well, they trade tower for tower at the end of the day. Maybe Dan was just really keen to get that bot lane tier 1 done with, so they could focus on some other things on the map. And it's pretty much one tower between these two teams right now. But again, Ziggs, he takes these things so quickly. Matty does drop the ultimate, a sent to ward. Oh my word, here goes Pride. I think he's not going to go for it. Oh, he is going for it. The Ornn comes out. Color me wrong as Lukezy gets knocked up, and I don't think the rest of Fnatic want anything to do with that.
You were right that he shouldn't have gone for it, but... happens anyway, throws it down, gets putting his stamp on the game, going, I'm still here, guys. Can't ignore this.
That's a big ultimate loss, though, and a dragon spawning in 40 seconds. I don't think he's going to have the Call of the Forge God available for that fight, so he will have to be very careful, and I think Fnatic as a whole will have to be very careful around this next dragon. Again, it would only be second dragon for Wizards, it would be third for Fnatic. It does not actually mean anything in the grand scheme. It would just obviously be delaying Sol for Fnatic, or it would be setting up Sol for Fnatic.
Yeah, right now it is probably going to be the next major focus, I think. With Baron spawned, I still think clearly they're not comfortable going for it on the side of Wizards. I think, again, not having gone for the attack speed Varus, having leaned towards the more poke-heavy style to kind of match your Ziggs in that regard, means that they're a little bit more wary considering they do it relatively slowly. So they decided not to go for it.
There is some groups up around this Baron. The Call of the Forge God available relatively soon, so that is an ultimate I would guess that Fnatic would like before they potentially attempt to engage a fight here. One of the things to remember is that despite the poke coming out from Energypot Wizards and coming out from VZZ specifically, Fnatic do have Yuumi, so they are going to be able to heal up a significant amount of that poke. They have the poke of their own as well. MagiFelix actually doing some work right now, so he's actually starting to hit people relatively hard.
You see he's also scaring them because he had the package, which was just running out, so he decides to use it to start up this dragon with the rest of the team, and they're perfectly positioned for it.
Oh, they do get it though, and that is going to be the call of the Forge God. Actually missed out as the CC comes through. Sett jumps straight into the backline as the Lost Chapter actually landing on a lot of people, and xMatty untouched as well. Really healthy. MagiFelix still going, and though I say that, Matty having to dip, duck, dive, and dodge away from pretty much every piece of poke that Wizards can throw at him. And at the end of it, it looked exciting, but nothing came of it.
Yeah, it was a mixture of just not having enough damage to deal with the tanks of Wizard, and on the other side, Yuumi healing up the Corki to make sure nothing actually goes down, and as you said, some dodges from some of the key poke coming in from Varus at the end there. So a lot of things happened, a lot of back and forth on those health bars, but at the end of the day, it's just another dragon over to Fnatic, moving ever closer to that Ocean Soul.
It is such an even game right now. 100 gold, looking like it's almost less than 100 gold separating the two teams right now. You could not ask for a more tense situation for a game that will decide who leaves the groups with Mouse. And I think both teams have scaling elements. It's not exactly like it gets to a certain point in the game where you're like, well, Aphelios is online and Corki's good in the late game.
Do I sound like that? Is that what you're saying?
No, I wasn't trying. I was not trying to. I was merely choosing a random voice, and I ended up sounding like that. Not really sure what that voice was, but regardless, Lukezy also scales very well. You know, he's. I know you're going to have to tank scaling of Zac, which is just absolutely insane. Also, so there's definitely scaling for both of these teams. You know, it's not clear cut when we get to the late game who actually wins this straight up.
I think that's fair, and even often you'd look at the likes of Olaf and go, oh, that's a champion that falls off. With Yuumi suddenly actually scales surprisingly well, because now you have this unstoppable, near unkillable bruiser to contend with as you go on later in the game, because of course Yuumi will just continue to get better in terms of what you can buff the Olaf with.
Yeah, exactly. Looks like there's a bit of a group up towards the top side of the map here. The vision control from Energypot Wizards in Fnatic's red side jungle. Oh my goodness, that damage is absolutely insane, although MagiFelix does walk in. That was a Call of the Forge God that comes through onto whiteinn, who's taken very low, as again, like you said, Olaf just runs you down. MagiFelix poking out VZZ and Spooky. That was a good little pick for Fnatic. I don't really think they convert it into anything tangible as of yet. Although Dan has now seen klowny on the sidelines, I don't think you go for the kill here. I think it would be difficult.
Can actually stop this. No actual CC from Olaf, so going to be able to walk it away. Good TP.
I mean, it's a good result though. You get the TP, so that's a TP lost for klowny for essentially for free, and Fnatic will take that.
Yes. I think the other thing, you're getting some summoner spells, you're going to be able to actually clear out this vision that Wizards have been so good at maintaining around the Baron. This is allowing Fnatic to play that little bit further forward than they have been for the rest of the game.
Wizards just coming to clear out the Baron vision. They don't want to be left in the dark, especially versus an Aphelios. We know with the right item combo, can absolutely crush Baron. Dan's looking pretty scary right now. He has got that Yuumi attached, looking to chase down Lukezy, who does not have that Hextech available to pop him out. He will flash away as now klowny runs his way into this fight. I'm not sure this is a fight that you want, Wizards, though. That is versus a Yuumi, and now Pride just walks into the wall. But nonetheless, MagiFelix is chasing them up. He goes back over, immediately Sett ulted away, and he gets the shutdown. Now Matty on the backline have popped that Moonlight Vigil, but I don't think the damage is there right now. I don't think that Fnatic can actually convert on this, as Pride doing his best to just try and trade back. That is Zac going down. Dan is going to work his way through. They should get the kill onto this, although the teleport comes out, and suddenly this is amazing turnaround from Wizards. Dan doing his best to 1v4 as he gets kited around. Matty on the backline as well, trying to trade back. Matty still going. He's got a double kill. Can he actually convert this? I don't think he can. What on earth? What on earth was that fight? It just looked like a complete mess.
It was, but again, we talked about this from Wizards. This is where they thrive. They go for these messy fights. They thrive on it. But xMatty surviving on the back, doing that little bit of picking off on the edge. It starts off with Dan jumping onto Lukezy. Starts off with the big forced engage, and now here's Wizards. They go, okay, we're turning this around. We're committing to this fight. Even with the TP, we're ready to go if they follow us into our jungle, which they absolutely do. MagiFelix goes over with the Valkyrie. Hard engage onto the Yuumi held carry, so you can take out the Yuumi as well. Takes a little longer than you might like, but eventually you do. In the meantime, you've taken a huge amount of AoE damage, and here's where xMatty is able to just free fire on them. Plays at a good range, avoids a lot of the poke, avoids getting dragged in with any form of CC. Tries to pick off the Zac there, but a good TP actually cancels the Zac being killed. And xMatty has to play back, avoiding Spooky picking him off, but is able to kind of run back in at this point.
did Pride get CC'd during the Call of the Forge God? Because he didn't actually use the second half of it. I need to have a look. We've got another fight going on. MagiFelix aggressively into the backline once more. The Lost Chapter, unfortunately, pointed the wrong way. But the damage is good. And finally, the Call of the Forge God actually landing in a good spot as they get a massive knock-up onto 2. This is a huge fight for Fnatic to convert on because that is Dragon's Soul confirmed.
That's going to be it, and maybe another kill, actually almost taking out Spooky, not quite able to snipe him with the rocket, but as you said, that's going to be Dragon Soul. Forcing again, that was actually the Corki package that helped them start off that fight. Really well played by Fnatic, playing around that timer. You can see, honestly, why they were so comfortable early locking this Corki for MagiFelix. Has had exceptional performance thus far.
He really has. MagiFelix, the rock of this team, very rarely has a bad performance. I'll say earlier, I think versus Mouse, it was one of his kind of like rare performances where it didn't really go his way. But this is a good return for Fnatic as they are now thoroughly in the drive. Actually, they're behind on gold. I don't even know why I'm saying thoroughly in the driving seat. They're actually behind in gold, even though it doesn't feel like it. It feels like they're getting the upper hand in these skirmishes and fights a lot of the
Ocean
time.
Soul being, I mean, I've always talked about arguably the other Souls match it, and some of the Souls I like the feel of better, but certainly if you look at the flat numbers, Ocean Soul is likely the strongest of the Souls, so a really good pickup there for Fnatic, especially when we talked about one of their big strengths in these fights with the Yuumi, with the carries they have running, is their potential to heal through the damage Wizards are doing.
Yeah, and they can heal through the poke with Ocean Soul as well, you know. Just step back, although they're going for a big engage onto Matty, who is now isolated in his own blue side jungle. Immediately gets locked up. He's just going to be dead here. The shutdown comes through for Spooky. Do they have the damage with MagiFelix, though? They need to get some damage through as he's immediately getting locked up and taken down by whiteinn. He gets out of the Hextech bomb from Lukezy, and now MagiFelix, look at this Smurf. Look at this monster. Just cleans up the rest of Energypot Wizards. This should at least be an inhibitor, but maybe a Baron too.
Yeah, they have 30 seconds to play with here, and that's the earliest death timer they can respond to. I agree, you're definitely going to pick up the inhib here, probably back off for the Baron at that stage. Great play from Fnatic, though, to pick that one up from an engage that was forced by Wizards. Looks like they might actually be considering just going for the end here.
They do have Corki. He's very good at taking turrets. 7 seconds until Spooky performs and can get back onto the field, but everybody else is much, much later on. They're going straight for the end. Fnatic looking to get out of the group alongside Mouse in such a dominant turnaround from a single team fight. Spooky's doing what he can, but I don't think he can do enough. Hit the goddamn Nexus, Fnatic, and book your place in the bloody quarterfinal. There we go. Fnatic goes through. Heartbreak for the Balkans, but the UKLC booked their second team in the quarterfinals.
And that has to be a big win for the UK fans worldwide. I'm sure you exist somewhere. I know one joins me at least on the side here. Massive win to get both of your seeds through already. Don't even have to play tiebreakers where a lot of the other major regions do. Got to be a real big win for the UK here, who've had really shaky performances in previous European Masters. Finally, some redemption for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a stock of that, because that was quite a game. We don't have any tiebreakers for this group. Fnatic will join Mouse, getting out of the standings, and I think we'll be bringing up the standings pretty shortly. So we'll be able to see exactly what's coming up. And Celtic, talk me through some of these games and these scores.
Yeah, you can see that Mousesports actually having the best performance of anyone in groups in the European Masters. Managed to go 5-1, only dropping that singular game to Fnatic. And again, coming up quite close against an opponent who's incredibly strong in Fnatic, who just about managed to edge out again. I think massive commiserations to Energypot Wizards, though. They brought out a lot of that big Balkan energy, coming in with those massive team fights. This is always going to be an incredibly hard group against a Prime League number 2 seed that realistically could have contended for number 1, and Fnatic, who are now trying to get back on form for the UKLC.
So we actually have some tiebreakers to go through. We have a bracket for it as well. Tiebreakers will be taking place tomorrow, but let's have a look at the tiebreaker bracket. We have a couple of games to actually get through tomorrow. I believe we have 4. So we're going to have a look first. Celtic, just talk me through this.
So you have LDLC versus Giants. Following up, the winner of that faces Rogue. For those wondering why Rogue only has to face off that one game, based on total game time in groups, the lowest total game time got to go ahead and guarantee their spot and then play for seeding first or second. So looking forward to this though, because this is a lot of big names coming out here. LDLC and Giants previous semi-finalists in the European Masters.
Yeah, and again, LDLC have constantly failed to live up to expectations, so a loss at group stages would just be another nail in the coffin for their European Masters performances over the years. They haven't looked kind of the sides that most people expected them to, so it's going to be a big set of games. Let's have a look at Group C next. I believe we have Movistar Riders versus Schalke, and then Kick versus the winner of that. What are you expecting from Group C?
I'm interested. One of the things to note here with the other tiebreaker as well is actually both Polish representatives are also locked in. So a massive win for the Ultra Liga as well, which we haven't touched on as well. So both the UK and the Polish have 2 seeds locked already. Really interested to see with this. Potentially with this tiebreaker, you could have both Spanish seeds knocked out, which would be a massive loss for the Superliga, who have had consistently solid performances. So looking forward to seeing these games tomorrow.
Yeah, we do have a schedule for tomorrow, by the way, guys. We have those tiebreakers to complete. The start time will be our normal European Masters start time of 6 p.m. CEST. Game 1 will be first of Giants versus LDLC. LDLC will have side selection for that game, and then the winner of that will go on to face RGO, and RGO have side selection for that game there. Following that, we're going to have our tiebreaker between Movistar Riders and Schalke, with Movistar Riders having side selection. And then Game 4 will be Kick versus the winner of that game, with Kick having side selection for that particular game also. So we have 4 very important games tomorrow to decide the fate of some of our teams exiting those groups. I'm very much excited. Celtic, if I had to peg you for a winner of Giants versus LDLC and Movistar Riders versus Schalke, who would you choose right now based on what you've seen?
I'm leaning towards Giants very slightly, just because I've seen them perform in the EU Masters before, with some of these players obviously having changed since then. I still have some faith there, especially the Superliga Orange. And on the other side, it's probably a little closer. I'm going to call it as Schalke, though. Just because we've seen what Mousesports can do. This is a team that actually managed to beat out Mousesports domestically. I feel like based on that, now that they're forced to really perform, they might just be able to eke it out.
How much heartbreaking would it be for the SLO to lose Giants and Movistar Riders, though?
Yeah.
And they already lost a team in play-ins for a region which has so much pride as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a whirlwind ride. Congratulations to Mouse and Fnatic for making it out of their group. We will see them in the quarterfinals. But for now, goodbye, and thank you from me and Celtic.